The first powered flight lasted 12 seconds. And that was enough to change the world. At the desk with me is Professor Nakamura, here to help us take this task apart, slice by slice. One word inside this task quietly overrules the biggest delivery instinct theirs. Don't lose that thread. I'm holding it back until we've earned it.
Value-based delivery. Plainly, it means you ship value early, in pieces, instead of saving it all for one big reveal at the finish line.
Back to those 12 seconds. December 1903, Kitty Hawk. The Wright brothers didn't wait until they had a perfect airplane. Their first flight covered 120 feet and lasted 12 seconds, barely a hop. But it delivered the one thing that mattered. Proof that powered flight worked. Their best flight that same day went 852 feet. Still not a finished airplane. Still worth every second in the air.
And that's the whole mindset of this task. Last episode was scope, defining and agreeing what to build. This one is about when the value shows up. The instinct of an experienced delivery lead is to protect one big launch date and hand everything over at the very end. The exam rewards the opposite, and it's worth understanding why the smart, experienced answer is the trap.
Right, because think about who this catches. Picture a coordinator who runs big predictive rollouts, comfortable with a Gantt chart and a fixed plan. Her instinct is to line up every piece, build it all, and deliver one clean finished system on the last day. In her world that reads as discipline. On this exam it reads as risk, because nothing of value existed until the very end, and nobody could tell if it was working.
And it's not that she's careless. She's the opposite of careless. That's what makes it the classic experience trap. The exact habit that keeps a real rollout clean. One plan, one delivery, no loose ends, is the habit that loses the value question.
The safe move at work is the wrong move on the exam. Again.
Look at the outline itself. Process domain, task 3, titled Word for Word, help ensure value-based delivery, 6 enablers. Watch 3 of them.
Enabler 3. Assess opportunities to deliver value incrementally, in slices. Not one delivery, but many.
Enabler 4. Examine the business value throughout the project. Throughout. Not at the closeout meeting, the whole way through. And Enabler 5. Verify a measurement system is in place to track benefits, so you can actually see the value happening.
And every one of those cuts straight against the instinct to save it all for launch day.
Which is why the smartest thing in the room is often the wrong answer here. The experienced lead knows how to run a big delivery, so she trusts the big delivery. The exam is asking her to trust the slice instead. Small, working in front of someone early.
So here's the whole task on a napkin. A working slice delivered now beats a perfect everything delivered never.
And both things are true at once, weirdly. The slice is less complete, and it's worth more, because it exists, and the perfect version doesn't yet.
One quick thing while we're here. Everything we drill lives free at certs.professorerica.com. Free practice questions, free flashcards, built for exactly this exam. Go use them before the exam uses you.
The question I keep circling is the one every experienced delivery lead asks, and it sounds like common sense. If a thing isn't finished, how can it be worth anything yet?
12 seconds and 120 feet. That hop was worth more than the perfect plane that never leaves the ground. Let me pause for just a second, because this genuinely helps. If you are getting value here, hit that like button, then subscribe and ring the bell. It costs you nothing, and it is the single biggest thing that keeps these videos coming. Emma, you pulled the 6 enablers apart. What's the very first verb PMI uses?
Identify. Enabler 1. Identify value components with key stakeholders. And notice the last 3 words. Not identify value alone, at your desk, with the people who define what value even is.
Which is the first place experienced leads go wrong. Value is not one number. To finance, it's revenue or cost avoided. To legal, it's a compliance box that can't be missed. To the sponsor, it might be brand, or a strategic beachhead, or simply learning fast enough to kill a bad idea before it kills the budget. You don't get to decide which of those counts. You surface them, with the stakeholders, on the record. That's what a value component is.
You said value components. Give me the one-sentence version. What's a value component?
a distinct kind of benefit the project produces. Money saved is one, risk removed is another, faster time to market is a third. You name them separately because you're about to rank them separately.
And they can point in different directions. The feature finance loves might be the one legal is nervous about.
Which is exactly why you surface them together, out loud, before you build. If revenue and compliance are pulling against each other, that's a decision for the stakeholders to make on the record, not a surprise the project manager absorbs quietly at the end.
And here's why identifying them with stakeholders is not a nicety. Two people can look at the same project and mean completely different things by success. If you never surface that, you optimize for the value you assumed, and you find out at the end that the value they cared about never got built.
Take the original Macintosh. 1984, and Apple shipped it with 128 kilobytes of memory.
128K. My phone's lock screen uses more than that. And they shipped it anyway because the value component that mattered was not memory. It was the mouse and the screen. A computer a human being could actually use without a manual.
Small catch. Wasn't the first Mac the 512K one?
128. The 512, the Fat Mac, came later that same year. They shipped the small one first and grew the memory after.
Right. 128, then 512. Ship small, grow it. That's the pattern.
Which lands us on enabler 2. Prioritize work based on value and stakeholder feedback. Once you know the components, you rank the work by which delivers the most value first, and you keep re-ranking as the
Hold it. That's my lane. This is exactly where experienced delivery leads lose the exam. They build in the order the work was requested. Feature 1, then 2, then 3, because that's how the list was written down. Value doesn't care what order you were asked in. If feature 7 drives 60% of the benefit, feature 7 ships first, full stop.
Like I was saying, you keep re-ranking as feedback comes in. And that reorder is a discipline, not a vibe. I restore old card catalog cabinets as a hobby, and the temptation is always to file the drawers in the order they came off the shelf. The right move is to load the drawer people open every single day first. Same instinct fights you here, and the sourced answer is the same. Rank by value, then re-rank on feedback.
And this is where Agile and Predictive quietly agree. A well-run Agile team is not just piling on whatever features it wants. The product owner orders that backlog by value. That ordering is enabler 2. The tool is different. The discipline is identical.
Let me draw the shape. Everything the stakeholders ask for goes in at the top. You rank it by value and feedback. And this release carries the top slice, not the whole pile.
And there's a warning built into that funnel. What falls away is not deleted, it waits, re-ranked, for a later slice. Prioritizing by value is not cutting scope. It's sequencing it.
Remember that 60% feature, it comes back.
So, identify the value components with your stakeholders, then rank the work by value. Which raises the obvious next question, and it's the one experienced people fight hardest. How small can a slice actually be and still be worth shipping?
(2007). The first iPhone shipped with no copy and paste, no App Store, no 3G.
And it still won. How?
Because it delivered a slice that was already worth having. That's an MVP, the smallest version with just enough to deliver real value and learn.
So a minimum viable product just means shipping something half-finished and buggy to hit a date.
Not quite. Minimum viable, not minimum acceptable. The iPhone did less, but what it did completely.
That distinction is the whole trap. Minimum viable is a deliberate, complete slice. Minimum acceptable is a corner cut to hit a date. One earns trust, the other burns it.
So how do you know a slice is viable, not just small?
It stands on its own and delivers real value to someone. A definition of done bounds it. If a user can't get value from it alone, it's not a slice, it's a fragment.
2008, right? That's when copy and paste.
09. Copy and paste was 09. The App Store landed first in 08. Copy and paste, a full year after launch. They shipped the slice, then iterated the value in.
There's a word pair people mix up here, iterative and incremental. Which is which?
Iterative is refining the same thing until it's right. Incremental is handing over usable pieces one at a time until the whole thing exists. Agile does both at once, every sprint.
Give me it in objects.
Painting a portrait rough, then sharper, then finished. That's iterative. Building a car door, then a wheel, then a seat. That's incremental, each piece usable on its own.
And the exam cares because they answer different risks. Iterate when you're unsure it's right. Increment when you're unsure it's wanted.
Predictive can do this too, right? Not an agile-only trick.
Correct. Predictive delivers value in phased releases and deliverable acceptances. Agile delivers an increment each iteration. Different cadence, same goal. Value early and often.
Okay, so let me line the timing up out loud. If the first slice ships in month 2, value starts stacking in month 2. Hang on, count it with me. Month 2, month 4, month 6. By month 12, you've banked value the whole way. The Big Bang project banks 0 until month 12, then hopes.
And the Big Bang line is flat until the very end.
Flat, then a cliff, everything riding on one day.
Which is the real cost of waiting. Early value compounds. You learn from it, you adjust, you bank it. Late value just risks never arriving at all.
And the area under that early curve, that's value you already have. Nobody can take it back.
One more slice ships early. Professor Nakamura, that Tesla point is yours.
The Tesla Roadster 2008. Tesla didn't open with a mass market car. They shipped about 2,450 of one expensive sports car first, to prove an electric car could be wanted at all. Proof of concept in the smallest slice the market would buy. That slice led straight to the Model S.
2,450 cars to answer one question. Does anybody actually want this? That's a measurement, not a guess. Which is where this whole thing gets serious. Because you're measuring the wrong thing if you wait for the finished product. Look.
But you can't manage what you never set up to measure. And that's the enabler everyone skips.
Right, finish that thought because it's the pivot of the whole task. Enablers 4 and 5 go together. Examine the business value throughout the project and verify a measurement system is in place to track benefits. Delivering value early is worth nothing if you can't tell whether the value actually showed up.
So how do you measure a benefit? The revenue or the thing you shipped?
Okay, 2 ways to answer that, and they're not the same. The output is the thing you shipped. The benefit is what it changes in the business. You measure the benefit. And the tool for it has a name. The Benefits Management Plan. For each target benefit, it names the metric, the time frame, and who.
Wait, who actually owns watching it after the milestone?
The benefits owner, a named, accountable person who monitors, records, and reports whether the benefit is landing long after the deliverable ships. If nobody owns it, nobody watches it, and the value quietly evaporates while everyone celebrates the launch.
Give me the difference between measuring during and measuring after.
Leading versus lagging indicators. A lagging indicator tells you what already happened at the end when it's too late to steer. A leading indicator is predictive. It tells you mid-project whether the benefit is trending toward the target while you can still do something about it. Value-based delivery lives on leading indicators.
Make that concrete. Give me one of each for a real project.
Say you ship a new checkout flow to lift sales. The lagging indicator is next quarter's revenue. True, final, and far too late to change anything if it's bad. The leading indicator is the cart completion rate this week on the slice you already released. If completion is climbing, revenue is coming. If it's flat, you fix the flow now, not at the quarterly review. Same benefit, but one number you can act on and one you can only mourn.
And this is where the delivery lead we all know gets burned. He confirms the deliverable shipped, green milestone, on time, under budget. He never confirms the benefit landed. Remember the reframe from the value episode. A project can be green on the page and worthless in the world. A letter shows up at a federal agency. Standard envelope. Inside, a plan to build one giant case management system. All at once. One delivery. At the very end. 4 years of work. And then
what?
They scrap it. 2005. Nothing usable ships.
This is the FBI's virtual case file. Built Big Bang, waterfall, one delivery at the end. No working value in between, and no honest measurement of whether it ever would deliver any. When they finally looked, there was nothing to accept.
$170 million.
Roughly, about 105 million of that code was unusable. And here's the part that ties the whole task together. Its replacement, Sentinel, only worked once the FBI switched to building it in increments, delivering and checking value in pieces. Hold that number, because before this video ends, I want to name the single move that would have caught it in month 2.
The Wright brothers learned this for 12 seconds and a sore back. The FBI paid $170 million for the same lesson.
Quick gut check for everyone at home. Task 3 has 6 enablers. How many of them actually mention finishing or shipping the deliverable itself? Fenrir, guess?
6 enablers all about delivery? Has to be, what, 3 of them?
None of them. 0. Identify value, prioritize by value, deliver value incrementally, examine value, measure benefits, demonstrate value. Not one of the 6 says finish the thing.
0. Okay, that actually reframes the whole task.
You're right that standing up measurement feels like overhead when you just want to deliver. I'll give you that, but flip it. Without a measurement system, a busy project and a valuable project look identical from the outside. The measurement is not a tax on the work. It's the only thing that can tell you the work is working. Let me lay the measuring itself out as 4 moves, because this is the part people wave at and then skip.
And notice the 4th move. Throughout, the same word from the outline. Measurement is not a closeout activity you do once at the end. It runs the entire length of the project. So the 60% feature from earlier, the one Fenrir said carried most of the value, that's the one you instrument first.
Exactly that. Measure where the value is early so you find out in month 2, not at the funeral. Which brings us to the last enabler, and it's the one holding that word I promised you up top. Three failures, 2006, 2007, 2008. Every one of them public.
Whose failures?
SpaceX. The Falcon 1 rocket failed on its first 3 flights. Then on the 4th September 2008, it reached orbit, the first privately built liquid-fueled rocket ever to do it.
And they didn't prove it with a slide deck.
No, they proved it by flying. Which is the last enabler, and it's the word I told you to hold at the very top. Enabler 6. Evaluate delivery options to demonstrate value. Demonstrate, not describe it, not promise it. Show it, with working output, in front of the people paying for it.
And that one word overrules the strongest instinct a delivery lead has. The instinct is, trust me, it will all be worth it at launch. Demonstrate says the opposite. Don't ask them to trust it. Let them see it, early, until trust is the thing you no longer need to ask for.
There's a phrase in that enabler people skip: evaluate delivery options.
Good catch. It means you choose how to demonstrate. A pilot with 1 customer. A limited release to 5% of users. A beta. A working demo at a phase gate. The option is a decision, and you pick the one that proves the most value at the least risk.
So how do you demonstrate value in a predictive project where there's no sprint review?
Phase gates and deliverable acceptance. Picture a data center migration. At the end of phase 1, you don't just report that the servers are racked. You cut one non-critical system over, live, and let the customer watch it run. That's a demonstration inside a predictive plan. In Agile, it's the sprint review, an increment shown at the end of every single iteration. Different ceremony, same job. Put working value in the room and let it argue for itself. Let me draw the fork, because this is where the exam sets its trap. On one side, you claim value. On the other, you demonstrate it. Watch what changes.
So on the exam, when one answer says the PM reassures the sponsor the value is coming, and another says the PM shows a working increment, you pick the one that
Shows something real.
The one that reassures with words I was about to say, wrong reflex, yours is right.
You pick the demonstration. Reassurance is words. A working increment is evidence. Almost every time, the PMP answer is the one that puts something real in front of the stakeholder instead of a promise.
And demonstrating early does a second job people miss. It surfaces the wrong turn while it's still cheap to fix. A stakeholder who sees the increment in month 2 can say, "That's not what I meant," in month 2. Not at the launch party in month 12, when the whole thing is welded shut.
So that's the 6 enabler arc, top to bottom. Identify value, rank it, deliver it in slices, examine it throughout, measure it, and demonstrate it. That last word is the one I held, demonstrate. It's the enabler that turns the entire task from a promise into evidence, and that's the small version of it. There's one move that turns demonstrate into the single most picked correct answer on value questions, the same move that would have caught the FBI failure in month 2. Hold on. We drill it next. Professor Nakamura is back, and he has already handed you half of these answers tonight. Let's make you earn the other half. Emma, you've been ranking value all episode. Set up the first drill for us.
Predictive project, about 60% done. The sponsor asks, can we get anything of value in front of real users before the big launch in 6 months? The delivery lead's gut says no, it isn't finished yet. 4 answers on the screen. What's the PMP move?
You assess opportunities to deliver value incrementally. Enabler 3, 60% done means some slice is already usable. You find the highest value piece that stands on its own and you release it. A partial release that delivers real value beats a whole one that's still 6 months away.
And walk the 4 answers, because the exam stealman's every wrong one. Answer A, tell the sponsor to wait for launch. Feels disciplined, it's the trap. Answer B, rush the whole thing to done early. That's how quality dies. Answer C, refuse because it's not in the plan. And answer D, find the usable slice and release it. D is the value answer, every time. And name the filter, because that's the method the whole series runs on. The decision filter step that decides this one is, does this decision still tie back to value? The gut answer protects the launch date. The value answer asks what the sponsor actually needs and hands them a working piece of it now.
So the answer is always ship a slice. Every value question, same reflex. Slice.
The premise is wrong. Incremental is usually the best way, but it's not the goal. Value is. Some work genuinely can't ship in public slices. A bridge. A certified aircraft part. A regulated drug trial. You don't release half a bridge and let the public drive on it.
And even there, you demonstrate value early through prototypes, phased design reviews, staged regulatory approvals, and you still examine business value throughout. The enemy was never a big deliverable, it's banking all the value and all the measurement to the very end.
Fair. Value's the goal. Slice is the usual route.
Drill 2. The mirror. A team hits its final milestone on time. The deliverable ships, everyone claps. But nobody ever set up a way to tell whether it's producing the benefit it promised. What does the PM do?
You verify a measurement system is in place to track benefits. Enabler 5. Shipped is not the same as delivering value. The PM's job is not done at the milestone, it's done when there's a way to see whether the benefit is landing and a named owner watching it.
And the trap answers here are seductive. One says the project succeeded, close it out, the milestone was met. One says wait for the annual review to see if it worked. One says that's operations problem now, hand it off. All wrong. The benefit is the point, and you can't manage a benefit nobody is measuring. The value answer stands up the measurement, names the owner, and keeps watching past the ship date.
Which is exactly the move I told you to hold from the FBI story. Deliver a slice early and stand up a way to measure its benefit. Run those two together, and a $170 million failure becomes a cheap correction in month 2. That's the whole lesson in one move.
The Wrights got that lesson for 12 seconds. The FBI paid $170 million for the same one.
Cheapest way to learn it's a 12-second slice. Most expensive is a 4-year big bang. Honestly, it's the same instinct I chase on a run. I love a negative split, faster second half, and it only works because I check the pace early and adjust. Prove it early, adjust as you go.
So here's your whole exam spine on value-based delivery. Identify the value with your stakeholders and rank the work by it. Deliver it in slices, examine it throughout, and stand up a way to measure the benefit. Then demonstrate it, early and often, with working output instead of a promise. When 4 answers tempt you to wait for the finished product, the PMP almost always picks the one that puts real value in front of someone sooner and then checks that it actually landed. Shipped is not success, value is. That settles it. Professor Nakamura, thank you. The line I'm keeping is yours. A working slice you can show beats a perfect thing you can only promise.
Glad to help. Deliver early, measure throughout.
Real quick before you go. If this made value-based delivery click, hit like and subscribe. Every subscriber genuinely moves the next task in this series along faster, and the free flashcard deck for this one is live right now at certs.professorerica.com. Here's the one I want you sitting with. Think about the last project you delivered. Did you hand over all the value at the end, or did you get a working slice in front of someone early? Be honest with yourself. Study the outline, not your instincts. Next task is resources, staffing the work without burning the team. I'll see you there. Take care of yourselves.